have about 2,385 registered radiographers. In an 2021 AHPC annual report, we can see that more than half, which is 56.4% of the registered diagnostic radiographers, received their basic qualifications from Singapore, with the Philippines 21.8% and Taiwan 8.4% being the next most common countries of origin for qualifications. The other countries include Malaysia, UK, and Australia, for example. As you can see, the current radiography population is hardly sustainable in the long run, as more and more countries faces the same issue of an aging population. So one of the strategies that the government employed was to set up a local university to ensure there's a continuous supply of local graduates to join the radiography workforce. The Bachelor of Science with Honours in Diagnostic Radiography was introduced in 2016. It is a 4-year direct honours degree program and was the only diagnostic radiography program offered by Singapore Institute of Technology at one point. Prior to this, SIT had partnered with Trinity College Dublin to offer a 1-year degree program in diagnostic radiography starting from academic year 2014. This earlier program was designed for polytechnic students in diagnostic radiography looking to upgrade their diploma to a degree locally. However, the 4 full-year bachelor's diagnostic radiography program, which admits students directly from pre-university education, commenced its first intake in September 2016. Prior to SIT, Singapore only offers the diploma in allied health courses. So the second source of radiographers we receive from is from PSB Academy. The PSB Academy has recently introduced a new radiography program in partnership with the University of Hertfordshire. The program offers is the Bachelor of Science Honours in Diagnostic Radiography and Imaging. This is a comprehensive 3-year degree course designed to equip aspiring radiographers with the knowledge, skills, and practical experience needed to excel in the field of diagnostic radiography. Prior to PSB Academy, University of Hertfordshire partnered with Parkway College in Singapore to offer a similar radiography program, but the last intake actually graduated in 2024. So another strategy which the government employed is the career conversion program. The career conversion program for diagnostic radiographers is designed to help mid-career Singaporeans and permanent residents transition into healthcare industry as diagnostic radiographers. It offers full scholarship and allowance to successful applicants. Participants are required to sign a bond with MOH Holdings and serve a 4-year bond with their sponsoring organization after graduation. So upon graduation from an accredited institution like the Singapore Institute of Technology or PSB Academy, graduates must register with the Allied Health Professional Council, AHPC, to practice as radiographers in Singapore. So based on the degree obtained, AHPC will either grant a fresh graduate conditional registration or temporary registration. For C-Reg, conditional registration, typically the graduates are from a local university or recognized university by AHPC. For example, if you graduate from UKM in Malaysia, you'll be granted C-Reg, but with 18 months supervision period. If the degree is not recognized by AHPC, the radiography graduate will be granted a temporary registration or what we call T-Reg. For T-Reg, you will have to pass qualifying exams, English tests, IELTS tests, complete supervision requirements, plus write 7 essays. Once you pass your above requirements, then the T-Reg will progress to C-Reg. There will be another 18 months of supervision. Once the radiographer obtains full registration, they'll be rotated to various clinical settings to gain experience before choosing their specialty. So their career pathway includes clinical, research, education, and management. Of late, the HPC has implemented a continual professional education system to ensure allied health professionals maintain and enhance their knowledge and skills throughout their career. A 2-phase rollout has been implemented, a voluntary phase starting from 1st of March 2024, which is this year, followed by a mandatory phase from 1st January 2026. CPE requirements will be mandatory for renewing practicing cert from 1st January 2026 onwards. The system aims to maintain and improve practice standards across professionals and sectors. This is the diagram of how long it takes for local C-Reg to obtain their practicing cert and license versus a foreigner C-Reg versus a foreigner T-Reg. As you can see, the journey of a T-Reg is not easy in Singapore. You will need to complete and pass the qualifying exams, the English IELTS test, your workplace competency, and also meet AHPC other supervision requirements, like completing your SF6 supervision logs and completing 7 essays within a year. After which, then you'll move on to CREG supervision, which is another 18 months. So there'll be a total of 30 months before TREG can obtain their practicing cert. For local graduates, it takes only 1 year to fulfill the supervision requirements. The career progression for a radiographer in Singapore is typically as shown. The grading from various healthcare institutions may differ, but the scope and responsibility do not differ as much. All fresh graduates will start off as a radiographer. The main focus is actually to obtain skills and experience and get to the basic right. They will be expected to use the knowledge obtained in school to deliver quality care to patients. Occasionally, they will be also expected to train their juniors or students. Typically, they spend 80% of their time performing clinical work and 20% in other areas like research or education. Subsequently, they'll be promoted to a senior radiographer. As a senior radiographer, they are required to deliver more specialized skills. The knowledge is more in-depth and they'll be expected to lead a small section sometimes. They will also be expected to train their juniors and students. Typically, they spend 70% of their time performing clinical work and 30% in other areas like research or education and some form of leadership roles. For principal radiographer, they are expected to be experts in their field or specialty of choice. They usually manage a section or department and is accountable to the cluster for some aspects of service development and performance. Typically, they spend 60% of their time performing clinical work, clinical practice improvement, and 40% in other areas like research or education or management. If the principal is also the HOD of the department, then he or she will spend about 20% of their time performing clinical work or clinical practice improvement and 80% of their time in management duties. For senior principal radiographer and above, they drive service development, improvement, and extend the parameters of their field of practice. They are accountable to cluster and national priorities. They are also involved in policy and decision-making within system to impact patient outcomes. Typically, they spend 50% of their time performing clinical practice, improvement work at the cluster or national level, and 50% in management or leadership roles. If the senior principal radiographer is also the HOD of the department, then he or she will spend 20% of their time performing clinical work, clinical practice improvement, or 80% in management duties. Now we know more about the background of the Singapore healthcare system and the education and training background of Singapore radiographers. I'll hand over the session to Denise, who will share on new manpower considerations, factors impacting radiography workforce, and challenges that the workforce face. Subsequently, Harris will share on the future directions, which include digital transformation, potential developments in radiography, and building a talent pipeline for digital-enabled care. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Yes, thank you to our dear speakers, and thank you, Nathania, for starting the CPD Asia on time. But because we have so many important people here in the live Zoom, we would like to say first a very warm welcome to each and one of you from all our audiences from Asia and to all there who are in all parts of the world, most especially to everyone in Singapore. This is CPD Asia, the online continuing professional development platform for Asian Radiologic Technology Societies, and hosting the 42nd CPD Asia is the Singapore Society of Radiographers, SSR, and I am Peachy Luna, the CPD Asia Secretary General and your CPD Asia program host. As you know, we are live streaming on YouTube. You can search MSR or PARI or the VART channels, so you can join us live or you can watch a replay. So as we start now, I would like to meet first the president of the whole society, president of the Singapore Society of Radiographers, President Denise Chung, to give us a welcome message. President Denise.
Thank you very much, Peachy, and a warm welcome to everyone this afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the 42nd edition of the Asia CPD program. We're very excited to bring you this very challenging topic to talk about, but it's so important because, as Nathania already shared with us today, it seems like 2030 is very far away, but in reality, we're going to experience life in 2030 very, very soon. And these issues, I think we really need to start talking about them today. So we are going to talk about how we can develop Workforce 2030. There will be a little bit more focus on what we have in our Singapore context, but I'm sure these issues are something that we all face across Asia. I will share more about the challenges of our radiography workforce in Asia. But yeah, I look forward to everyone's contribution. Something that we have to do. So I really enjoyed today's presentations from Jasmine, myself, and my Vice President Harris. And please share with us questions that you might have through the chat or through the Q&A, and speak with you later. Thank you very much, Peachy.
Thank you very much, President of SSR, President Denise Chung. I will hand over later to Ms. Natanya to introduce you for your discussion. But before that, you know, this CPD Asia is highly supported and raised by member societies, presidents, all the officers, and their representatives. Let us first greet and welcome President Fernando Koch of Macau Radiological Technologies Association, MRTA. First, President Dr. Sudianto.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Vietnam Association of Radiological Technologies, VRT, President Taiwan Law.
Hello, everybody. Thank you.
We also have here the Hong Kong Radiographers Association, HKRA, President Mr. Nang Tat Meng.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Attending for the Japan Association of Radiological Technologies is the Vice President Naoki Kodama.
Hi, nice to meet you. So, good afternoon. JRT joined the CPD ASIA last year. So, JRT hope to contribute to improve the quality of radiological technologies in the Asia season. So, JRT will also be hosting CPD ASIA in December together with the JSMIM. We hope you will join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, VP Naoki Kodama. We have received greetings from President Chun Yuan-tu of the Taiwan Association of Medical Radiation Technologists, from Malaysian Society, President Sophie Lee, from the Philippine Association of Radiologists, President Ruben Lorenzo. I have also received warm greetings from President of Palestine Association of Medical Radiation Technologists, MRT, President Mohammed Abdul Ghani. And attending here from Indian Society of Radiographers and Technologists, the former President Selva Kumar.
Hi. Very good afternoon to all. Warm welcome from India. It's a very nice, interesting program today. All the best to Thank you.
Thank you, dear sir. And also we have received greetings from President Vitrana Damishwimalasen of Society of Radiological Technologies, Sri Lanka. And President Ku Yuan Ho of Taiwan Society of Radiological Technologists. And attending also with us are our attending panelists. We have Sir Jerry Lay, Chairman Cora Nang from Macau, and Sir Ching Yu.
Hello, nice to meet you.
We also have Sir Philip Chung from HKRA, Putu Adi Susanta from Indonesia, also Marco from Macau, and of course the VP Harris Abdul Razak. So we would like to request each of you to please open your camera for a short photo opportunity. Thank you very much, dear presidents. I'll hand over the time for our next speaker, who is the president of SSR, Madam President Denise Chu, for your discussion.
And Hi, welcome everyone. So next up we have Denise from NUH. She's currently a sonographer and also the president of SSR Singapore. So without further ado, let's invite Denise to share her thoughts and share a screen on manpower issues. Denise, please.
Thank you very much, Natanya and Peachy, for the kind introduction. So, of course, thank you to Jasmine for the great overview of the healthcare system in Singapore. So this afternoon, I'll be sharing a little bit more about what challenges we face here with the radiography workforce in Singapore. And actually, these issues are very unlikely to be specific to Singapore alone. And hopefully through today's presentation, we may be able to collectively identify some overarching issues in the radiography profession affecting Asia. And hopefully we can brainstorm some ideas to solve them together. So there are many factors that impact our radiography workforce in Singapore, but for the scope of today's presentation, I have identified three main challenges, okay, and suggest three approaches that we can adopt to mitigate these issues. These issues are interlinked and contribute to the effects of one another, but we can attempt to tease out some of the key points, I think, for each of the challenges. So firstly, we will explore how we can cope with an overall aging workforce in radiography, how we can minimize the impact of increasing demands for diagnostic imaging, as well as discuss the impact of staff shortages and the manpower considerations of the new generation in our workforce. So for a bit of background, I know this slide is a bit busy. Go to 100 plus years on the y-axis, right? And blue, of course, represents the males and pink the females on each of the graphs. So the first graph outlined in black is the population pyramid for Asia that you will see at the top left corner of your screen. I've also grouped the population pyramids by shape. So ideally, we would like to see a pyramid that looks like, well, a pyramid with a broad base and a narrow top, right? But some of the countries in Asia are trending towards having an inverted pyramid shape with a narrow base and a broad top or upper half at least. So I have also highlighted in yellow the band of the ages of the working population. So that stretches from about, if I remember correctly, about 20 to about 55. Okay. And what happens when we start to have an inverted population pyramid is that overall, the population will tend to have, firstly, increased healthcare needs associated with aging. And it is also likely that older staff will have to remain in the workforce for a longer period of time. So this brings us to our first challenge today. So the first one we'll address today is the aging workforce. In Singapore, over the years, we have raised both the retirement ages and re-employment ages steadily since 2019. And according to this graphic on the left, I don't know if you'll be able to see my pointer here. I think so. Yeah, we can see that it has increased from retirement age has increased from 62 to 65. It will increase until 65 in 2030. And the re-employment age, so the age at which Singaporeans can be re-employed back into the workforce, will be raised to 70 years of age. And we all know that radiography and radiation therapy professions are physically demanding. We experience long work hours, right? And have to cope with an increasingly high workload. This definitely affects staff of all ages, but it is really likely to have a higher impact on older staff. Right? In addition, due to the limited supply of younger staff, which I will address later, despite the difficulties, it is likely that older staff will be encouraged to stay in the workforce. So what is key about engaging these experienced staff is that they will invariably be able to impart knowledge to their younger colleagues because they are experienced professionals. And they will have a lot of valuable experience and expertise. We want to ensure that there is also knowledge transfer that will be key especially in handling issues that require experience and maybe some more soft skills that may not come as naturally to younger radiographers. So we think that our experienced staff will likely benefit from some work redesign that takes them off the floor, if possible, or to help release some of the administrative duties to ensure that the department is able to run smoothly. So bringing it back to what Jasmine talked about, the proportion of clinical versus education, administrative or research tasks, this is distributed quite differently across the levels of work experience that radiographers have. So we can still benefit from having experienced staff in our workforce if they are engaged in more administrative duties or more training and mentorship opportunities where we could tap on the wealth of experience of these experienced staff to support professional growth and hopefully the workplace satisfaction of younger staff. So a second challenge is undoubtedly the increase in demand for diagnostic imaging. So almost as expected, as our population ages, the demand for diagnostic imaging services increases due to age-related health conditions. However, as our technology also advances, we're able to see and image more things with more details, right? And coupled with the shift, the climate in healthcare litigation, so I think more patients are becoming more vocal to voice up their feelings of, whether they are upset with their treatment or, they are very readily poised to maybe sue doctors if they feel that they were treated unfairly for whatever reason, right? There has been a rise in defensive medicine across many healthcare systems, not just in Asia, but in the Western countries as well. This rise in demand for imaging also comes from positive defensive medicine, where physicians order additional tests, procedures, and treatments that may not be clinically necessary, but are done to ensure that every possible diagnostic step is taken. And while this may seem like a cautious, careful approach, it invariably causes an increase in the demand for imaging and subsequently a rise in healthcare costs. In Singapore, we're also experiencing a shift in the healthcare strategy towards more preventative care under our newly established Healthier SG movement. So this encourages a lot of early screening, leading to early detection of diseases and conditions. So this is definitely an important long-term goal to reduce healthcare costs that come with, a lot of late stage detection of diseases. A lot of cancer care is very expensive among a lot of the various disciplines, right? And being able to avoid late stage cancer treatment will actually help overall in reducing healthcare costs and the healthcare burden on society. However, it does, in the short run, drive up a sharp increase in the demand for diagnostic services, imaging and otherwise. So in terms of diagnostic blood tests and other sorts of tests as well. So the strategy is to minimize impact. It might be very difficult for us to stop completely the demand for diagnostic imaging, but what we can do is to minimize its impact through the judicious prescription of imaging, right? As well as employing technology to our advantage, which I think Harris will be sharing more about in his presentation following mine. Being able to adhere to established clinical guidelines and agreed standards for the use of imaging can help clinicians, particularly those with less experience in imaging, to follow prescribed or well-accepted imaging pathways to maximize outcomes for patients with the appropriate imaging tests. So these include standards like the American College of Radiologists guidelines, imaging guidelines, right? And other standards, for example, the ones that we have on the ISRT webpage as well. And it is also important then for radiographers to pay attention to justifications and clinical indications for the scans that they might be performing, and to flag such requests when there is doubt. Patients nowadays also tend to be more savvy with their health, right? So they want to have a more involved role in their decision making. So what clinicians could do is to empower patients with informed consent that can help with the use of imaging, because the patient can actually also give their input and decide, okay, no, based on what you've told me, I would prefer to perform imaging A rather than imaging B, right? And this will also likely improve the patient and clinician rapport and their overall satisfaction in the clinical service. Technology can also play a part in reducing unnecessary imaging procedures. So it is not uncommon that busy clinical teams overlook pre-ordered tests, which result in a lot of duplicate requests. So appropriately programmed technology can possibly sieve out these duplications to help radiographers and appointment staff, management, ops teams, to optimize resources and ensure that patients still get the required care. Other technological advancements that can help to mitigate the impact of increased demand is employing faster and newer digital imaging technologies to optimize workflow. We can also use more 3D imaging from post-processing to provide more accurate diagnosis and a shift towards personalized patient care. And of course, the hot topic of recent years, we can use artificial intelligence to both optimize workflow, image quality with reduced scanning times, as in the case with current MRI available AI algorithms for post-processing and optimizing image scanning parameters that are available in the market today. So the last challenge that I want to talk about today may actually be the most complex to solve, but it's definitely something that we need to be aware about and attuned to in the coming 5 to 10 years. So staff shortages and new manpower considerations for the new generation in our workforce has called us to really think outside the box and try to strive to understand the new motivations of our younger staff. We also spoke about the growing demand of services in my previous slide, but I think a bigger impact of this challenge is actually from the limited supply and possible recruitment challenges for new radiographers into the profession. So in Singapore, as Jasmine shared earlier, we have 2 local training institutes with a 3 to 4 year program. So the lead time for each institute also explained, we do have our AHPC or respective registration bodies in the various countries. And this may, impose some barriers to the free flow of staff or trained professionals across the country lines. Furthermore, to cope with the changing healthcare needs of Singapore, there has been a very, very rapid expansion of services that will continue into 2030 and beyond, including 2 new hospitals, multiple transitional care facilities to right-side patients when they qualify for step-down care after being discharged from the acute hospitals, as well as 7 new polyclinics to boost the primary healthcare sector. And all of these facilities will require some form of diagnostic support, whether it be to distribute diagnostic imaging capabilities into the polyclinics, or to accept a new influx of patients coming from these sources into the hospitals to provide imaging services. So our challenge here is the same, that we may not have enough manpower input to support the required output of such expanded facilities. We also have new manpower considerations in Singapore with the government's push for flexible work schedules and emphasis on work-life balance. So these are two new schemes that the government has put into motion this year, 2024, to refocus every Singaporean's attention to personal and family life. And these are really excellent initiatives to allow staff to be committed to their families as well, right? To arrange with their employers for flexible work hours, as well as to support increased weeks of paid parental leave on top of the existing maternity and paternity leave allowances. So it's great for, you know, the Singaporean population, but in terms of the workforce, right, it definitely calls for us to think outside the box to ensure that our time-based duties and services are able to run even with such flexible work arrangements. So what do I mean by time-based duties? For example, when you run a clinic, the clinic opens from 8 to 6. You know, these are the hours that we are supposed to have staff manning the clinic, right? So by hook or by crook, somebody has to be there between the hours of 8 to 6, right? So sometimes flexible work arrangements can be a bit challenging to arrange in these sort of cases. I think, is much easier to be flexible with the work hours if your job scope is mostly maybe administrative or project based, and so long as by the end of a certain period you have something to produce, a piece of work to produce. It doesn't really matter whether you are working on it 8 to 6 every day, so long as you get the work done by the time the deadline is due. Yeah. So radiography services generally don't tend to work that way. So this is the challenge that we will have to deal with in terms of rostering and providing flexible arrangements for our staff. So our staff and our workforce also care very much about meaningful, rewarding work. They have goals to achieve, particularly in competencies for advanced imaging and ensuring that they're well established in their core skills as radiographers and that they perform their work well. Right? It is also increasingly important for our staff that they have a supportive work environment where they have some level of control and also access to available resources for support and problem solving. So to really address this work-life balance requirements and stress associated with long hours, high workloads, and emotional demands, I think what we can do is actually, for the long hours, look at creative rostering to accommodate this flexible work hours. This may also be contingent on the availability of manpower, because you will need more manpower to cover to ensure that, you know, there are certain overlaps in the duties covered. But I think this is where we, or administrators or managers, owe it to our staff to also really make an effort to think outside the box. To cope with the high workload, I think we need to emphasize and strive for judicious use of imaging, okay, and also efforts to ramp up manpower. And our work can be very, very emotionally demanding, because it's high workload, high stress environment, you know, and everything needs to be done quickly and efficiently. So sending staff for training courses and making resources available for them to ensure that their mental well-being is protected, it will be something that will be very useful for staff and for managers to consider. So
personally, my colleagues and I also feel the increased demand as well on the ground. But again, there's always two sides to the coin, like what Denise mentioned, defensive medicine and early detection could actually be beneficial for patients in clinical grounds as well. So hopefully with technological advances of AI, there might be reduction in scan time and image optimization will help radiographers manage the increasing demand. Okay, so last but not least, we have Harris. So Harris is a senior radiographer from NUH. He is also our very bubbly vice president of SSR. So without further ado, Harris, please.
Hi, everybody. Yes, thanks, Natalia, for the introduction. My name is Harris. I'm the VP of SSR. I'll be presenting on digital transformation in radiography. We need to three big items to present: digital transformation itself, potential developments of digital transformation in radiology, as well as how we can build talent capability to meet increasing demand in this area. Okay, so now before I deep dive into healthcare, I want to start with some real world examples of digital transformation to provide some context. Okay, so I'm sure everybody have heard about Netflix, right? So Netflix is a very good example of what digital transformation is, right? So Netflix started off as a DVD rental service. So before they went to streaming, how they provide the services is through sending their DVDs straight to the customer's mail. Right. They then moved to streaming because back at that time there were a lot of competitors also doing the same thing, which is DVD rental. So if you log into your Netflix account right now, then what you can see is that they have they are very good at personalizing content. So so basically when I log into Netflix, they know exactly what I want, and then they would add like new content every time. And they understand my preferences, my viewing histories, and then they recommend things to watch, right? So that's how Netflix deliver in terms of value and add service add value to customers. The next one is food and beverage industry. You have this new business model called cloud kitchens. You have Mac Delivery, GrabFood, and Uber Eats, for example. These cloud kitchens push online food delivery models over the course of last few years, right? So they focus on taking food orders online and then deliver food to your doorstep. Okay, so before this service, what all you have to do is to self pick up at the restaurants, or then you have to call in. If McDonald's at that time they have their own fleet of delivery riders, so they would then deliver to your doorstep. Yeah, so what this offers for other restaurants that don't have delivery fleet like McDonald's has is that then they could hop onto this platform, and it's easiest way for them to go into the digital delivery market. And because GrabFood and Uber Eats, they have a lot of high quality traffic, they have a lot of consumers on their platform, so then they could leverage on having their products on these streams. Lastly, we have banking. Okay, I'm sure many of you have conducted online transactions before, and either through phone or the browser. So now banking is trying to change your how you make your transactions with them. Last time you have to go straight to the physical bank for the easiest of things, for just to withdraw money or just transfer a few cents here and there. You have to go to a bank. It's very troublesome. So now more and more digital bank is available, and is making a banking experience better for customers, because they don't need to go physically to the bank just for the little things, right? Okay, so now we look at industrial revolutions, because industrial revolutions have some impact on healthcare, and then it then leads to digital transformation, right? Okay, we look at first industrial revolution. First industrial revolution was powered by steam engine, and then it's changed the world by replacing muscle power with mechanical power. And then at that time, there's a lot of factories that sprang up, and then a lot of other industries revolutionized, like for example, textile, right? Because before machinery, they do everything by hand. So now they have machines, and then it's easier for them to produce in scale. And then in the second industrial revolution, there's electricity and assembly line. This made a lot of things possible for mass production, right? Okay, so automobiles at that time, we see a lot of automobile industry springing up. And then we have third industrial revolution, so the emergence of personal computers, internet, and automation of production and operation. And Industry 3.0 is also dubbed as the digital revolution. This led to a lot of things such as efficiency improvement, streamlined supply chains, and also because there's computer, there's also the rise of information technology. The fourth industrial revolutions built on the inventions of earlier industrial revolutions and optimize the widespread availability of digital technologies developed in the Industry 3.0. Now, Industry 4.0 is centered on the digital transformation of the production process. So now this involves the seamless integration of physical systems with digital technologies. So this then enable self-optimization and communication. Now, right below this slide, you see healthcare 1.0, healthcare 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. Now, this was conceived by Chen in their paper into 2020. So they reflected how industrial revolution impact healthcare. So beginning with the improvement in public health within Industry 1.0, using water and steam power on to healthcare 2.0, which then saw mass production of healthcare facilities as well as professionals. And healthcare 3.0 is basically the rise of computer, also developed evidence-based medicine, and then also Industry 4.0 is translated into healthcare 4.0 as smart medicine. Okay, so this is the graphics that Chen and his team developed. Okay, so Chen and colleagues proposed that healthcare 4.0 as the era of smart medicine with the addition of new brains and hands. So these new brains and hands, the brain refers to capabilities such as new capabilities such as precision medicine, AI, and telemedicine. New hands refers to new technology that they have developed, right? Such as robots, mini labs, wearable devices, customized materials, and 3D printing. Okay, so that how do we define digital transformation? So at this point, there's no universal definition of digital transformation. Some see it as exploitation of digital technologies to create values to customers and maintain competitive advantage. Generally, digital transformation is viewed as reimagining business models that improve business processes and enhance customer experience. In our case, it's patient experience. At the heart of Industry 4.0 is digitalization, right? So which involve converting anything from analog data into digital formats for easier processing, storage, and analysis. Now, the analysis bit allows the data to be translated and analyzed at real time. And then and so because the data are analyzed at real time, it then allow for more innovative approach to care delivery. So and then there's also the development of digital tools to facilitate communications and collaborations. Okay, next. So Harris, why is there a need for digital transformation, right? So who are we competing with actually? So the needs in the presentation slide talked about the aging population. This is real. We live in an aging world, right? So between 2015 and 2050, there's a global population that's aged 60 and over. And this is expected to grow by 1.2 billion, There will be 309 million more people aged over 80. And aging population places a different kind of stress and demand on the health system because of the onset of chronic conditions and diseases. Okay, so second, the world is facing an obesity epidemic, right? So in 2016, nearly 30% of the world population was obese. And this is about 2.2 billion people. Okay, so obesity also has a lot of challenges, right? So it places a lot of significant burdens on health systems through diabetes, heart disease, and other medical conditions. Lastly, the question mark, there's a lot of known unknowns, right? So the demands placed on healthcare systems that we know will manifest themselves at some point. Even if you don't know what it is or where or what magnitude the impact may be. Like for example, we know we have experienced pandemic before, and pandemic and epidemic falls under this category of known unknowns. Okay, so lastly, there's this persistent growth in healthcare expenditure, right? So this affects almost all countries, and has been growing for many years. So the healthcare expenditure won't drop. You won't wake up one day and see suddenly, oh, how come the price of a CT scan is 50% cheaper? No, it will always increase. So as a percentage of gross domestic product, healthcare accounts for about 9% of in the OECD countries. Some part of the world, this it may be more than 9%. Okay, so in radiology, there's a couple of platforms that's driving change. So we have PACS, DICOM standards, and teleradiology. Okay, so basically when they adopted the DICOM standard basically allowed for interoperable operate funny, very hard to say this word, interoperability of imaging devices. So and this what makes modern PACS possible. So the radiologist sitting over at the workstation now can look at past images without having to scramble and look for comparisons firms to firms. Because last time when firm was around, they had to look for the firm old firms in the firm archive. Now they don't have to do it. Everything is on the PACS workstation. Okay, so then there's RIS and EMR. So radiology departments were among the first clinical departments in healthcare to implement electronic systems as part of their clinical workflow. So we were actually the first one to use RIS to report. So we use computer and somewhat of a RIS system to report and then distribute reports over to the other clinicians across in the hospital. Okay, and EMR system centrally documents patient journey across the patient care path lah. So G, 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 GT digitizing medical records is of paramount importance in modern healthcare because the transition from paper records to electronic formats revolutionize how information is stored, accessed, and then utilized. And then we have digital imaging devices. What's so good about digital radiology is that images are immediately available for clinician to view, and patient throughput is improved. There's also artificial intelligence. We see that a lot in our new modalities. Like for example, in MRI, there's new algorithm that they can be trained using deep learning to detect and remove image noise and artifact. And this then allows the production of sharp and detailed images. Next. Okay, so AI and machine learning is also increasingly being integrated into our current workflow. We've seen image analysis. So this AI itself are able to analyze image, detect abnormalities, and then assist radiologists to diagnose. I'm going to show you one image data, which is of rapid AI, which expedite the process of identifying acute ischemic stroke. And then we have predictive analytics. So they look at patterns in medical data and then predict potential health risks. One way to use this is for predicting hospital patient falls. Okay, then we have workflow automation. So seemingly very routine tasks like routing exams to appropriate radiologies or load balancing can be done by machine learning, through rule-based automation algorithm. And some modalities also have automatic organ segmentation. So with a click of a button, the machines will do it for you instead of spending like for me, I spend a lot of time segmenting the biliary tree for my exam. With automation, this is done very easily. Okay, so this a picture of a radiologist looking at the CT scan images, and then this process usually will take about 20 minutes. Now then it takes less than a minute to identify stroke. Okay, so healthcare systems are moving to a model that essentially persisted for centuries, right? Which people seek help from an expert when they become ill, then treated in some form of healthcare setting, and then hopefully recover. Nowadays, the emphasis is increasingly on prevention, like what Dennis said, making sure that health problems don't arise in the first place, or at least don't escalate into a serious issue. Another emphasis is on patient empowerment. So patient or the individual is at the heart of all the treatment. So patients are engaged and they take charge of their own health. Okay, so the future of healthcare is actually about using technology to innovate the patient experience so that everything is frictionless and easy to use. So this could be through having the own patient portals and having some digital education embedded into these patient portals. Appointment scheduling, patient can do their own appointment without having to call the receptionist to book their appointment. And remote consultation. So remote consultations, you have, I think the pandemic really kicked off remote consultation. So they use Zoom to to conduct face-to-face meeting with patients, and it's still ongoing, and it's still part of current mode of consultation. Okay, so this example of patient portal, and then so another picture is a patient portal with scheduling capability. So patient can choose to cancel, reschedule their appointment. So this is what I think will be the future of radiology. There will be AI will still be around. So, but there's many facets of AI. So there's natural language processing that we can use to automate imaging study triaging based on imaging data. So we use AI and a lot of other data, AI from RIS, and then also from EHR, EMR record, and extrapolate them using natural language processing to classify stat and non-stat exams. Augmented reality and VR is for use for education and training has been around. Some institutions are using it. This will no doubt complement how medical education and training is being provided at the moment. I think in the future there may be more and more of this and new use for diagnostic images. This multimodal AI. So basically you linked imaging studies, the image, to data from other sources like genomics, clinical notes, lab values, even wearable devices, and then you use this to look for linkages, look for associations, um, that and and make sense of this data, to see whether there's any correlations to future disease prognosis for the patient. So next is just a video, a very short video of how VR on a VR radiography simulation. Okay, I have to declare that I've got no conflict of interest. My first time also looking at this video. No, actually my second time. Okay, so then how do we build talent capacity um, to advance digital transformation in healthcare? So new advances and technologies have important workforce implications, right? So it is essential for us to recognize that the nature of the future workforce will differ from today's. Some jobs will disappear, others will be transformed, right? Policymakers and stakeholders have to be very involved, and they must consider, as well as societies, professional societies, they must consider the implications for education and training. So then, that being said, how can they do that? They should advocate for education and training, for new as well as existing staff, um, to meet the demands of digital transformation. So I'm just gonna skip quickly to the next slide because yeah. So for example, this is a picture of CGH. Yeah, and this CGH, they have a faculty of 15 staff, and they're all from, I think, some digital innovation office in CGH, and they collaborated with they sent this staff to SUTD, specifically to study data science in healthcare. And yeah, so and this program was co-developed with SUTD as well as CGH. Yeah, so that's what I think stakeholders should do. cross-industry exchange. So, and that's the thing. So managers in healthcare providers often and perhaps increasingly, because we come from clinical background, right? This is not a bad thing, but we may not understand day-to-day realities of healthcare, right? And then he- and then because we come from we've come from clinical background, we don't really understand the technological part of things. We don't understand the need for business transformation, or we don't have a possibly broader knowledge uh, that we can tap on. So we only have technological knowledge, I'm sorry, clinical knowledge, and we don't have useful knowledge on digital transformation efforts in other industries. So I feel that we should have cross-industry exchange and learn from other industries, so that they could find areas of overlap, and then we could spark innovative solution. And then over at the workplace, we should have a culture of innovation. So basically, and this stems from having leadership that supports the employees uh, to test out new ideas and learn from failures. Strategy partnership important. So institutions, healthcare, hospitals should collaborate with tech firms, because tech firms have the resources and expertise and domain knowledge in technology, and this would help us who are more clinically inclined to then pair up together and then develop a product that would then be very useful for us at work. Or we can also engage with academia, like the example with SUTD, and develop tailored programs to meet our industry needs. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Harriet. I really
Yes.
like examples of digital transformation, with different apps that we commonly use. I think it's really relatable in real life as well, especially the video on performing X-rays. So I didn't know we can also perform hand hygiene on X-rays as well. So that's very cool for myself. So shall we take this chance to clarify any doubts you might have, or need for any speakers to provide any elaboration on their spoken topic? Because it's not every day that we have videographers and presidents from different countries together. So it's definitely a precious time today. I find today's session to be very enriching as well. So, and I hope it has been the same for you guys too. So any questions from the floor?
Oh, I see a couple of questions. I think the first question on hand hygiene, I'll pass it to Denise.
Sorry, I've missed that. Where is that on hand hygiene?
Q&A. So Hong Kong uses 2D barcode scanner to scan QR codes on patient bracelet to input. Oh yes. In Singapore, I must say that we don't scan the patient ID barcode on the wrist tag. There are various ways in which we collect two patient identification, patient name and patient procedures, and then after that we have a checklist which we then sign with the patient to declare. In terms of minimum experience. Oh yeah, correct. Yeah, so we have a template so that patient has to declare right before we start the exam.
Yeah, so if I can add on to Harris's answer, I think this workflow about the barcode scanning on the patient's ID would be applicable for like inpatient. It has not been applied in our radiography context, because usually we will check for pregnancy status as well. Of course, moving forward, I think if there's already updated LMP information in the patient's record, then scanning their barcode might actually help to solve this issue. I know that the nurses in the wards use it now for their medication round. So they always like scan the patient's barcode to ensure that they've got the right patient with the right dosage of medicine before they administer it. Yeah. Outpatient wise,
Outpatient, no?
we usually we don't have any because they
Wait.
don't come in with any barcode. They
Correct.
have a little slip at registration, but it also means that they must be holding the correct slip as well. Yeah. So we usually ask them to verbalize their name and IC number. And then we will get them to also declare whether they are their pregnancy status, if applicable.
And then on several various touch points before we do the exam, even on the modality itself, we have a screen that we can see the patient details on. And also right before we make the exposure, there's always the workstation that we can refer to before we make the exposure to, so that we can see that we are performing the right exam at least. Yeah.
I can have a question.
Yes, please, the president. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk with in Dennis first. We talk about aging workforce. I think in how on in retire for radiographer and technologist in Singapore. The first question. How on for retire? Okay.
The retirement. Okay.
Yeah.
Second question.
Yeah, second question. I think the good advantage for in Singapore, you can open more, welcome your generation for come from another country in your country better. Okay, yeah. Have it to.
Okay. So the first question about the retirement age. So the current retirement age is I think 63. Yeah, but especially for our elder or more elderly staff members, I think usually they are, I'm not sure if every situation is the same, but they might have like a contract arrangement. So then they can discuss with their reporting officers or the managers, whether or not they are okay to continue renewing this contract. Yeah. But we also have annual like performance review, and that is a good opportunity for staff and the managers to have a sort of a heart-to-heart conversation about where they are in life, whether they are comfortable to continue, whether the workload in terms of the proportion of clinical load to administrative, is it working out? Yeah, so I think each department runs it slightly differently. I know recently, I think we've had radiographers working into like their 70s, well into their 70s, still doing x-rays. Of course, we don't expect them to work at the same pace as the younger colleagues, but they're definitely still, active, in clinical work. So that's for retirement age. And then I think the second question was about hiring foreign radiographers to Singapore. Yeah, so we do have a schedule based up from our AHPC registration list of pre-approved universities. Yeah, so people with radiographers with qualifications from the listed universities kind of already have like pre-approved access. So they just have to apply and it's already kind of approved. There's a second schedule where they might have slightly longer supervision periods. But I think the challenge is when the universities are not on that registered list. Yeah. Of course, the universities are welcome to apply. I think it goes by application. So they submit like their curriculum, and then we have a committee that looks at what's covered in the courses, and then the committee will decide collectively whether to put this university on the schedule or not. Yeah. So what else? What was the difficulty with? Sometimes we experience some language barriers, but I think most most universities do have courses conducted in English, and that's become less of a problem now. Yeah. But of course, we also
Thank you.
know that everywhere they're looking at radiographer manpower shortage, right?
Yeah.
In most countries as well. Yeah. It's not just
Thank you, Dennis.
isolated to Singapore.
Thank you, Dennis. I want to talk with Harris. Harry. Hi, Harry.
Hi, Locke.
Yeah, I saw you. You said and digital transformation now. Okay, and I saw you say you said workflow automation. How do you think now? For example, now your department 10 radiographer and technologists, and next 5 years. Because the workflow, the automation, you only need to 5. You less radiographer in next 5 years. The first question for you, how do you think? The second, very important question, you really share for us generation gap in Singapore, in generation gap, the thinking in on the radiographer and young radiographer with very big problem now in some country. I know about that. 2 questions for you. You clear?
Oh, yes. Maybe I'll start the second question because it's fresh in the mind. And also I had this discussion with myself. I find that my generation and the younger ones are 12 years younger than me. It's very difficult to connect, and then we have to connect with them. The language that they speak, even though it's in English, is different. We have to appeal to them differently. We have to know what codes they are speaking in, because and we can never be very harsh with them. And also, I mean, because we are seniors, right? We cannot be too friendly, I guess. I mean, there's a degree of separation. But definitely we need to find what is the secret sauce or code that they understand, and so you speak a common language with them. It could be some of them, they like coffee. Okay, you speak with them over coffee if that's gonna make it easier for you to communicate with them, or speak with them over food, because who doesn't like food, right? So bring them out for activities, karaoke. Even we had a recent general team retreat last Saturday, and we had karaoke, and we enjoyed our time together. So I think there's a bonding as well. So I think we can speak in the same language, bond with them over things that they are interested in. Then I think you win them over in a way. Of course, I think I realize that everybody is different, so you just have to strike a common ground, even though you may be different in terms of age or mindset. You just strike a common ground where you both agree on things. Yeah. And yeah, it's standardized. And this communication, you must be how should I put it? You must be consistent. Yeah, you must be consistent with how you communicate with them, the message at least that you want to communicate with them, as well as your other peers your age. And then your actions must also follow through with what you communicate. Yeah, that's why I feel, because it cannot conflict. When you have a conflict, you say that, oh, you cannot come late for work, and then next day you're the one coming late to work, then you break off the thing that you're trying so hard to tell them not to do, but then you yourself came late. So yeah, your message must be consistent with whatever you do. Then the first question about digital transformation, 5 years.
Less radiographer.
Yeah, less radiographer, right? With less radiographer. If Okay, so last time when I was using CR and then the DR came about, digital radiography came about, they said, oh, you can work faster. Yes, I did work faster, but also because I had to do a lot of patients, eventually it's the same. I work fast, but then again, I had a lot of patients. I can do a lot more patients now. And then 5 years later, I don't see the number of patients to decrease. I see them increasing, but is there anything I can do about it? Workflow automation. What can I do? Load balancing. That's one way I can do about it. Um, so what I often see in outpatient, okay, if you're talking mainly about X-rays, what I see in outpatient X-ray is that since they go for exams on days that they don't need is sometimes on arrival. But they choose to go even on the busiest of days. I wonder, and they don't need the exam that day because they're not seeing any doctor, but they just have to go to get the X-ray on that busy day. Yeah, so I think automation would really solve because then you can do a hard book on an appointment, especially for general X-rays. Now we don't have appointment based, but if let's say you can put appointment based on patient TCU dates automatically and then get the patient informed that to go over at this place for their exams, or to let patient know that your department is very busy now, don't come. If they can visualize, and then they won't want to go if your department is busy. I think if there's a way for them to visualize, have these numbers on their screen, on their app, and also if automation allows pre-scheduling patients closer to the exam date based on availability of the resource. Yeah, I think that would hopefully solve. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. The same question for the Dennis. For example, for Dennis, also about the generation gap. And now in Dennis, very fast. Last 2 years, very fast developed AI technology in radiology. Some hospital, I know, some hospital, some department have a fighting in generation, the old people and the young generation, because the old people, they not afraid yet in new technology. They only have a gap. They only have a fighting. How in Danish? How do you think in Singapore, Dennis?
I think quite similar to what Harris mentioned. Okay, let's talk about the technology part. So that is one thing that came across in my research for this presentation also about the aging workforce and how technology might be a bit more of a stumbling block for them. But I think it comes as I think part of the job, right? Especially because we have to advance, especially in this profession. There's no escaping it. So we'll probably need a bit more patience, maybe, with those who are a bit more resistant to technological change, but they must move, I think. Yeah, there's no way that just because they're older, then they have excuse not to not to learn how to use new technology. Maybe at a different capacity.
Yes.
But to a basic level, I think that should be something that is highly encouraged and pursued lah. Yeah, so that for one. I think what Harris mentioned about trying to bridge the generational gap through common activities, common interests, I think that's very important. Yeah, and just trying to, I think, trying to put yourself in their shoes, especially the younger generation, because we do think very differently. I think our focuses, our priorities, I think have changed over time. Yeah, just from being in different generations, having different access to resources and things like that. information comes at a very different rate now than it did the last time. So I think just trying to be open, keep an open mind to new ideas and trying to rationalize these things. It will take time, but it's something that's definitely worth doing.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, finish. Thank you.
I think Tat Ming has a question.
Yes, hello, Dennis.
Hi.
Very nice, fantastic presentations. I have several questions for the Singapore, because Singapore and Hong Kong is very, very similar in population and the health system. Yeah, and may I know what is the percentage of the public hospital in Singapore compared with the private one? What's the percentage of the public one?
Harris, do you have the exact figures? We can find out, but it's definitely, I think
60-40 around there. It won't not 50-50. Yeah, the public hospital, restructured hospitals facility is a lot more. We have more specialized centers compared to the public, no, the private clinics. But it's definitely within 60 to 75%. Public to private.
Okay, and in Jasmine presentations, you her mentions that there is a around 2,400 radiographers in Singapore, and then is it including the RT radiotherapist?
No, I think not at this time. By now, the 2,000 would just be DR. I think RT is about 200. Yeah.
Oh, the figure is very, very close to Hong Kong. It's a diagnostic radiographer. Hong Kong is around 2,400. So it's the same size, okay? And in Hong Kong, the public hospital is around occupies around 90% of the 90% of the public health care. So but in Hong Kong, how many percentage of the radiographers in Singapore worked in the public hospital? Do you have a figure?
Yeah.
In public, I'm trying to get. Do you have it, Harry?
Yes, I have the document with me, but I'm scrolling down. Right. Okay. This.
In public versus private, right?
Yeah, it's in public hospital.
Oh, okay, I got it. I just have to scroll up to DR. This video.
Oh, correct. Okay, so as of 2023, about 67%, 68% in public healthcare.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, compared to Hong Kong, Hong Kong is just a 50% radiographer working in public hospital. But the service over Hong Kong is over 19%. So Hong Kong radiographer is more busy than you. So it's same. It's the same problem compared to Singapore. It's same because we are so shortage of radiographer in the public sector. Yeah. So our boss, the headquarters, need to go around the world to sit for the radiographer now. So in Singapore, it says only now it's 2 institutes have a radiography subject.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's same in Hong Kong. Is one is a polytechnics university, and the other one is in this year is a Dongwa College have a new subject for the radiography. I think it's same. And how many graduate students, radiography student graduates every year in Singapore?
Just today, sorry, not today, just recently, because they had a graduation ceremony just this week. It was about 110, around 110 students for under DR cohort.
Okay,
Yeah.
exactly same as Hong Kong.
And then the RT is only 16 radiation therapy students.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you very much. That's it. And I want one more question is the C-RAD and the T-RAD. Is this the I see some radiographers come from the Philippines and the Taiwan. When they arrive your country, they get the T-RAD or C-RAD?
They will get T-Reg first.
Okay.
Yes, T-Reg first. Yeah, until a certain period of supervision is over, then they will convert.
Okay. Is there
Yeah.
any criteria for the T-RAD?
There are some criteria under the AHPC
Yeah.
supervisory framework.
7 essays as well as supervisory logs. So it could be every week or it could be every month, depending on their level of supervision. Yeah.
Okay. Is this a what's the is a government institution to assess the certificate or something their syllabus or something like that? Is this the government
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah, our Allied Health Professional Council is the one that governs all these professional matters. And then for one wants to apply to get the conditional or fully registered, they have to go through this council. Yeah, and then if let's say the universities are not part of the listed universities, then they may have to go under T-Reg, and then they once they complete the cycle, then they go into conditional registration. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Barry. Thank you.
I saw some questions online. Denise, you want to answer Alex's question?
Okay.
Your
So
suggestion.
Alexis says that for the past 20 years in Singapore, there's always been a deficit in radiographer numbers. There's just not enough. Yeah.
Yes.
So how confident are we that our suggestions will change this impact for the coming years lah? I think it's quite a complicated situation. So as I mentioned, there were a couple of factors and they're all interlinked in a way. Yeah. So I think there's no like one solution that will solve everything. We have to chip at it, I think, from multiple prongs. Yeah. So, but we know that will come with a lot of strain to the existing faculty lah. Yeah, and we still have to make sure that the quality of students that graduate from these institutions are able to cope with the changes, the high workload, and to practice with good patient care. So we also can't tell MOH to stop opening hospitals. That's quite challenging because the population needs it. Yeah, so that's why I think maybe redesigning work, looking at how we can do more. Do more.
I want to say do more with less. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do more with less. Yeah, but actually not just do more. I think it's also to achieve more. Yeah, because it's very easy to just do, but what is the impact of what we are doing, right? Is it actually having a big enough impact? Yeah. So I think the achieving more with less is also a very important thing to consider. Yeah. I think maybe trying to, like Harry says, optimize technology so that we can reduce this kind of like administrative things like calling patients, sometimes we have to do that as radiographers, right? Communicate messages, ensure that they are prepped properly for procedures. But, if technology can be employed to ensure that these messages go out to patients in a very clear manner that they can follow, I think we can, free up manpower to then do other things. Yeah.
Also on technology, I feel this doesn't really have to be fancy AI system. It could just be a good functional systems that is no frills that you can work with and get the job done, and you can operate it quickly without all the additional buttons. That would help simplify your process, because I think some new machines, one for example, the X-ray tube is very stiff, and then if you have to do that over 100 times, then you strain your back, make it difficult for you. Why would you want that? So I think if you are at the authority to evaluate new machines that come in, I think you have to look for machines that would help you in the long run to achieve better, faster scans. Yeah, that's my opinion as well. Oh, and why Kwong asked a question about how do we retain young radiography workforce in Singapore? Okay, so this may just be my opinion, but I feel that some institutions or organizations, when they do want to retain talent, they would ask you if you want to pursue further studies. That's one way that they would retain talent. I think overall, if you have a good culture, that will also enable your staff to want to stay on and work with you. If you have better pay structure, a reward culture, I guess, in your organization. Every year there's a appraisal session, appraisal, and then if you do recognize your staff, like accordingly based on their performance, and then I think that would really make one want to stay and work. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fair also that, for the radiography community, we work very hard, and we achieve good results, and the staff should be then rewarded accordingly lah. Yeah. So there was another question about AHPC CME initiative. So that is the what's coming in 2026 is that we will have CPD that is compulsory. So every 2 years, we will need to clock a total of 50 points to ensure that we are able to continue practicing, to renew our practicing license. So if you don't fulfill the requirements, then you're not allowed to work as radiographers now. So this is actually in line with what is established for the Singapore Medical Council, like the doctors and the nurses as well. Yeah, so they have a similar structure. So it will be additional considerations for the radiography workforce. I think a lot of the hospitals are trying to incorporate things, make it available at the hospitals itself. So kind of lunchtime talks, or access to resources that you can look at on your own time, kind of journal articles, those things. I think it's important for the radiographers to also be quite strategic about it, right? Sometimes, yes, we do need to rest, but in the periods of downtime, like you can actually do some journal reading, to just actually help shave off some of the small little points. Attending talks like this, although it is on a Saturday, on a weekend, but we can clock CPD points for this too. Participating in conferences, that helps to bump up like the points a lot. Yeah, so if you spend some time just trying to learn more, I think that will also actually help one's practice a lot. Yeah, so I think it's about not just thinking that, as a radiographer, I just have to do x-rays, that's my main role. It kind of is, but there's more to it than just doing that. Yeah, and hopefully it will also bring the professionals pride and joy to to understand a bit more about our profession and what we do, what impact it has on patients.
Yes, Dennis, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Is this the CPD it will be carried out in Singapore is 2026?
2026, it will be compulsory.
Okay. Is this the 3 year for a cycle or 1 year's each year's 2 years? Okay. How many credits? How many credits for the first cycle? How many?
Sorry, how many
How many
credits?
points? Yeah, for the first cycle.
There's no, it's just 50 credits over 2 years. So it's good if you have it half, 25. But if you do less in the first year, then you just have to make sure that you catch up in the second year.
Okay.
Yeah.
25. Oh, maybe 25 for the even for a year. Yeah, 25 points. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you break it up evenly, then it's 25. But maybe because of other availability of conferences or, you know, life events, maybe you couldn't do as much in the first year. So then you just try to catch up and make sure you make 50 over the 2 years.
Okay. As you know, what is the opinions or the reflections from the radiographer? It says, I'm no good, and then or I is welcome, or it's okay. The points, okay. What's the the reactions from the radiographer?
I think as with any any change, there's always going to be some resistance to change. I think it's also a bit more distressing because it's going to actually affect our ability to practice. Yeah, to actually work. So that's why it's causing a bit more stress, I think, to some of the radiographers who aren't already engaging in this as part of their usual professional activities. Yeah. So then I think there will be a proportion of them who feel like, oh no, there's this additional burden, additional things, yeah, it will take some time, I think, for everyone to get used to it. But there are, I think, lots of avenues. What the AHPT has done is they've looked at a lot of different types of activities that you can get points from. Yeah. So there's a variety that you can look into, maybe things that are more suited to your preference or to your commitments at home, those kind of things. Yeah. There's also an avenue to request for a reduction, but I think that is considered on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, you have to write in and apply to the AHPC for them to say, okay, yes, for this year, these 2 years, we will grant you a reduced cap of your credits.
So probably answer the question by Aziza. So Aziza asked, what's the possible directions for SSR in terms of digital transformation? So I guess there's a lot of things that SSR can do. So one of the things that is right off my head is to form a special interest group lah. We have yet to form special interest group in ultrasound, MRI, CT, and digital transformation could be one of those interest groups where like-minded individuals form like in teams can then share ideas and create a repository of best practice when it comes to digital transformation, especially in radiography, so that we can share resources. Yeah, I think that's also could be one of our work plan. And then, okay, so there's also another attendee saying that the salary in Singapore is not attractive. So willing to work in other countries of Singapore, is it not attractive? Oh, I don't know. Actually,
It's hard to say. There's quite a disparity, I think, across private and public institutions as well. Yeah. But we have a different remuneration model also, I think. Yeah. So I'm not sure. There's definitely places overseas with very attractive salaries for radiographers. That's for sure. Yeah, but then also I think it depends on the individual also. Yeah, some might be more comfortable staying here at home. Yeah, while some don't mind a bit of adventure. Yeah. I will have to find out about the CPD units, about the carrying over. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
To carry forward.
But we can find out and get back to you from AHPC.
On the private sector videographers, right? SSR do have programs or talks that are free. So do come and join us when we do list it in our calendar of activities. Oh, right.
Yes. About today's attendance. Nathania, do you
Nathania.
have the QR code?
Yeah, I have a. Can I?
Nathania with
Yes, Fiji.
Yes. So firstly, you have chosen a very timely theme for discussion. We can really relate, like here in Philippines. Firstly, I'd like to say note. You know, in Philippines, I think companies already know that the Philippines is one of the top countries who would always be supplier of workforce. Some company here already have started selling, you know, down to the higher education institutions, some apps so that students will start to learn a certain brand of equipments. And because we can only take note and understand that probably some companies in the future would eye first an applicant who knows how to handle certain equipments, a brand of equipment. And so that's one. With CPD here, at first, yeah, by experience, there were rallies, you know, professionals didn't like the idea of having a certain requirement of numbers of CPD, but we cannot do anything about it because it's already a law. But what's good in the law is the provision, a statement there that says that the HR should be part in promoting the CPD and providing sources of CPD. So that means that not all CPD units can be earned by paying attendance to conferences. You can also avail and must avail from the HR from your company. Now, another curious thing, I'd like to know in Singapore, if you have hospitals there whereby I know all the hospitals would want that experiences of patients should always be the best. Is there a hospital already in Singapore whereby patients can select whether they can have a younger or a female or a male radiographer? Or because I myself, I think I'd choose for an older radiographer, but maybe an older one is a specialized, a leader or an admin level. So is there such a thing there in Singapore? Or maybe because that can determine whether you'd prefer more hiring of females, because we would know that in some Middle Eastern countries, Filipino females, many of them would go there because there is high demand for female. If there are young patients, females need to handle young female, young child, young female adult. So I'm just curious to ask if there's such a hospital there in Singapore whereby you know already the preference of patients and can they select?
Okay.
I mean, of course,
I think no.
No.
Off the top of my head, I think it's no. Of course, there are special instances. For example, so I've experienced that because I do ultrasound, right? And on my team, it's all females, and there have been, because we do scans for male testes as well. So we have had patients request for male sonographer. So of course, one-off, we will usually try to accommodate if possible. If there was a male radiologist that was around, then we could ask if he was okay to perform the scan for the patient upon patient's request. But I think at that time there wasn't. So we left it up to the patient whether he wanted to proceed or whether he wanted to reschedule for another time when there was somebody else that was available. Yeah. So that's kind of one instance. I think in the Middle East, they're culturally it's a much more sensitive than what we experience here in Singapore. So perhaps that's why they have a bit more say, I suppose, in their requests. Because it's also culturally accepted there in the Middle East. Yeah. Harris, do you have any Nathania, any experience with patients requesting specially for?
I think my experience will be the same with Denise because some male patients they might want to have male sonographers, but for my department, not so. So yeah, I think like what Denise has mentioned. Maybe Harry, do you have any of such experience as well?
Like in ED, no, but you can roughly sense that when you do practice or you do come to the patient and you see, oh, he's a male. And then you roughly can get a sense from their body attitude and that they say they probably would prefer a female videographer than a male videographer. This usually happens. But yeah, and we know lah. So as professionals we then would get a chaperone if there really is no female videographer around, and then we try to not have a lot of physical contacts as much as we can, but still position instruct patients how to position. Yeah, but yeah, and we do let them know if there's no female videographers.
Is there any more questions on the floor?
Oh, maybe I might just answer one question from Mimi. Yeah. If radiographers from other countries already have a Bachelor of Science or higher education professions, do they need to study again in Singapore to get licensed to be a radiography professional? So I think if the degree is not related, then yes, you will need to study a specific radiography program again. But if you already possess a relevant qualification, you may have to take a qualifying examination. So it's just a study and then take an exam if your qualifying institution is not on the approved schedule of institutions. Yeah. So you may need to study again, but not like a full course if you already have a related radiography or radiation therapy degree. Okay, I think that's all we have time for. Yeah.
For Singapore participants, do remember to scan the QR code to complete the feedback form for us to capture your attendance for today. So every feedback is precious for us on how we can do better in the future. So allow me maybe a few seconds to just share my screen and play the QR code. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
So for Singapore participants, please do remember to scan the QR code and complete the feedback form. Not that's all for today's SSR talk. Thank you everyone, and thank you for all the presidents for attending as well. We really enjoyed ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our session moderator, Natanya Octaviani.
Thank you
to all the presidents and panelists, to our 3 excellent speakers from the SSR who recently gave insightful presentation and sparked lively Q&A. Thank you, Jasmine Lee, President Denise Chu, Vice President Harris Abdul Razak. We have learned so much from your very interesting, important discussions. and about the Developing Workforce 2030 and addressing manpower issues in radiography in Singapore. We hope to hear more updates from you next time. And yes, we are all excited to know about the next online CPD Asia next month. So to give an invitation, please welcome the Hong Kong Radiographers Association HKRA's President, Mr. Nang Tatni, to give us an invitation. President Ming?
Hi, everyone. Pichi, can I share the screen?
Yes, please.
Pichi. Okay, I share the screens for the next CPD poster. Wait a moment. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Hong Kong Radiographer Association Chairman, Mr. Tammy. Hong Kong RH will host the 42nd Asia CPD program on the 4th November 2024. And the Hong Kong time is the 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We have invited two speakers to present the topic PET CT. The first speaker is Ms. Monica Zhu, is a experienced radiographer, and she is specialized in nuclear medicines. She is also a nuclear medicine faculty director of the Hong Kong College of Radiographers and Radiation Therapists since 2010. She now works in the PAC Center in the Tuen Mun Hospital as a senior radiographer. Her topic is guest star on FDG imaging. Okay, and the second speaker, Mr. Ben Zheng, is an experienced radiographer too. He is specialized in PAC CT and MRI. He actively participates in many radiological education events in Hong Kong. He worked in Queen Elizabeth Hospital for many years, and now he works in the Hong Kong Integrated Diagnostic Imaging Center as an assistant manager and a radiographer in charge. His topic is Introduction of PAC CT in Abdominal Imaging. The poster will be launched for your association for registration will be in next week, and I hope all will be enjoy. And thank you, and see you next month. Thank you, Pichi.
Yes, thank you very much. And we will definitely save the date, November 4. So as we end now, we give thanks to the support of VT Healthcare Vietnam and to all our Zoom sponsors. We also thank and congratulate the CPD Asia host, the Singapore Society of Radiographers, SSR, President Denise Chung, to all your officers and their CPD organizing committee. Also, we appreciate the ongoing cooperation from the CPD Asia IT team to all our presidents and officers in bringing you interesting CPD Asia program every month. And of course, above all, we would want to express our gratitude to all the registered participants and live audience who helped make this online CPD Asia program a success. We will see you again next CPD Asia. And again, I'm Peachy Luna, and I say thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Keep safe and have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you also, Natanya.
Ya, terima kasih Pici Luna dan para pemateri langsung dari Singapura atas paparannya yang sangat menarik. Terima kasih juga kepada panitia atas bantuannya untuk relay Zoom langsung dari Singapura sehingga kita bisa bersama-sama menyimak acara secara langsung. Topiknya kali ini menarik sekali ya. Tadi dia banyak memberikan tips-tips bagaimana cara mengatur waktu dan tenaga supaya kita di radiologi, walaupun acaranya banyak, modalitasnya banyak, tenaganya bisa lebih efisien. Tadi juga sempat diberikan paparan mengenai pelajaran soal virtual reality ya. Jadi sekarang belajar praktek alat, nggak perlu langsung ke alat, nggak perlu langsung ke rumah sakit, bisa dari komputer dengan melalui virtual reality. Memang di Singapura ini kayaknya radiologinya sudah sangat advance. Saya lihat juga mereka teleradiolografinya, konsultasi, pembacaan bisa langsung dari HP, appointment bisa dari HP ya. Semoga kita di Indonesia bisa belajar banyak atas pengetahuan dari Singapura. Mungkin teman-teman yang jadi peserta mau berbagi, sharing bagaimana di radiografi dan di radiologi teman-teman di rumah sakit melakukan efisien kerja efisien sehingga tenaganya dan waktunya bisa lebih singkat. Ada yang mau cerita mungkin? Oke, kalau tidak ada bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu rekan-rekan sekalian, tidak terasa kita telah sampai di penghujung acara webinar kali ini. Untuk itu, marilah kita dengarkan himne Paris sebelum saya tutup acara webinar.
Senada seirama angkat lagu bagi pari kita, profesi sejati bergema di seluruh Nusantara. Majulah bersama bangsa Indonesia yang berlandaskan pada Pancasila dan UUD 45. Tingkatkan kemampuan profesi kita semua. Landaskan dasar cinta bagi bangsa Indonesia. Perhimpunan Radiografer Indonesia, pandanglah ke depan, capailah cita suci dan mulia. Doaku selalu pada Tuhan Yang Esa, semoga rahmat karunia-Nya berlimpah agar kita sejahtera.
Baik, terima kasih kepada seluruh pembicara kita hari ini yang telah memberikan paparan kepada kita semua. Tentunya semoga webinar hari ini dapat menjadi ilmu dan keberkahan bagi kita dan untuk yang menyaksikan baik pun yang menyampaikan. Saya sampaikan juga untuk CPD Asia ke-43 akan dilaksanakan pada tanggal 4 November dan yang ke-44 akan dilaksanakan pada tanggal 14 Desember. Jadi teman-teman yang ingin mengikuti CPD Asia mungkin bisa secara berkala diupdate, dilihat di pelataran sehatnya apabila CPD Asia kali ini akan masuk ke platform pelataran sehat. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh peserta dan undangan yang hadir pada webinar kali ini. Demikian selesai sesi webinar 40 CPD Asia hosted by Singapore Society of Radiographer hari ini. Saya mohon maaf dengan kekurangan yang ada dan terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Saya Putri Jasmine selaku host dalam webinar kali ini pamit undur diri. Sampai jumpa pada webinar pengurus PARI berikutnya. Akhir kata, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore dan sampai jumpa.